Good morning and welcome to the third in a series of our unemployment insurance virtual town halls. Thanks for joining us today. We have a couple of housekeeping items to note. First of all, we have an online poll. It mimics the poll you would have received in the phone call that you received inviting you to this town hall. So please take a moment to either by phone or online respond to the questions in that poll, which we'll go over momentarily. Also, for those by phone who want to ask a question, please press *3 and you will be into the queue to ask a question. If you're joining online, you can type in your questions into the queue online. We will pause about halfway through to take a look at the poll survey and see if we are adequately answering the questions and topics you want to hear about most. In addition, the issues that are asked in our poll will be addressed in our brief PowerPoint presentation at the beginning of the call. We won't be able to get to every single participant's question today, but we hope that with the poll questions and the trends we're seeing and the trends we're seeing from callers and participants online, we get to the majority of the issues that you're interested in hearing about. Lastly, this town hall is offered in Spanish at 11:30, and both Spanish and English are recorded and available on the website at coloradoui.gov. And then quickly on the poll question, the issues you'd like to hear about most today in the call: wages in other states, that's option 1. Backdating a claim, that's option 2. Returning to work and eligibility, that's option 3. Exhausted claims is option 4. And when will I see my first check is option 5. With that, I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Jeff.
Thank you, Rebecca. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jeff, and I'm going to be helping to facilitate this dialogue today. Helping me out with that is going to be another Jeff, as well as Rebecca. They're going to help to field your questions. But to start, we're going to start with a short PowerPoint presentation that will hopefully address a lot of the questions you may have come into the meeting with. So with that, we'll get started. So first off, our agenda today is we're going to talk briefly about the status of unemployment benefits in the state of Colorado. We're going to go over some new customer service features that we've added recently. We're going to talk about frequent customer service issues, including wages in other states, backdating of claims, returning to work / job refusals, and also timing for getting benefits. Then we're going to give you some tips on filing a successful claim, and then from there we're going to move into participant questions. So let's talk a little bit about the status of unemployment benefits in the state of Colorado. So the pandemic obviously created a great demand for unemployment insurance benefits in the state, as it has nationwide. We've served nearly 500,000 claimants since March 15th, and we've added about a little more than $1.5 billion in benefits back into the economy to help pay rent, buy groceries, and the like. We processed about 85% of eligible claimants for payment. I mention that because I want to talk a little bit about the process itself and to highlight the fact that applying for benefits and being deemed eligible for benefits is only one step of the process. There is a secondary step. We'll get a little deeper into this in a couple slides, but you need to actually go in and do a weekly or biweekly certification in order to actually get payments. And so why 15% of people haven't been paid in many instances is because they haven't reached their certification window quite yet. There's a small percentage of claims, obviously, where there are some challenges and some complications to those claims, and we are working through those. But the vast majority of claims are being paid in a very timely manner. But it's important to note that it is a two-step process, and you have to actually go in and request your payment. Next, I want to talk a little bit about the CARES Act. As you may know, Congress took action in March to extend some level of benefits. The broad categories include what's called pandemic unemployment assistance, sometimes referred to as PUA or PUA. We added those benefit payments starting on April 20th. And what those broadly cover are folks that aren't traditionally eligible for regular unemployment insurance benefits. So they might be non-traditional workers, as we call them. So folks that are self-employed, so folks that are independent contractors or gig workers. And it also covers a number of categories that are specifically unique to circumstances related to COVID-19. So for example, perhaps if you are caring for an ill child during the COVID crisis and you can't go to work for that reason, you would be covered under pandemic unemployment assistance. We did add a dedicated PUA call center to help with these claims. And I want to note that these benefits are available as it stands right now through December 26th of this year. Congress could take action to extend those benefits past that date, but that's when the benefits expire as of right now. Those benefits are available for up to 39 weeks. Also under the CARES Act, they added what's called pandemic unemployment compensation. That's typically referred to as the additional $600. That's a flat fee, or a flat payment, I should say, that is being added to every claimant on a weekly basis. Regardless of your underlying benefit, it's a flat $600. It's important to note that there's nothing additional you need to do in order to get that $600. It's automatically added to your payments. We started paying out those benefits on April 20th. And it's also important to note that those benefits do expire as it stands right now on July 25th. Again, Congress may take action to extend those benefits. They may change that benefit amount, but that's where it stands right now. Moving on, I want to talk a little bit about some new customer service features that we've added. Very recently, we added some new video series on the website, coloradoui.gov, that show things like which benefits should I apply for, and how do I file a claim. So those are on the website now, and we've tried to be as thorough and comprehensive in those videos as possible to help you understand which benefits you might be eligible for and how to get those benefits. We've got the Spanish versions coming out soon. Also want to note that we are adding on-site appointments at our downtown Denver location. Our lobby had been closed due to the pandemic and the shelter-in-place ordered by the governor. It is now safe to reopen on-site appointments, but of course we want to keep the health and safety of our staff and our customers at the foremost of our mind. So it's going to be by appointment only, and there's going to be limited slots where we expect to see about 40 to 50 people a day based upon social distancing and just the size and capacity of our facility. You will be able to schedule appointments starting on June 1st, and the first available date to come in to see us, if you choose to schedule an appointment, will be June 8th. We've also added a request to call a backdate callback form on our website. We had already had a form on our website if you are having challenges simply filing a claim, but very recently we added a request for a callback specifically related to a backdate. We've been monitoring our customer service interactions, and that has been a frequent item that's come up is the need to backdate claims. So for your convenience, given the challenges in reaching our call center, we've added a form where you just simply go on, fill it out, and we will call you back related to the backdate. Also want to highlight that we have expanded the assistance within the website via what's called a chat bot. And so we've taken a lot of steps to be as thorough as possible in providing guidance on the website. It is a lot of information. It's a lot to absorb. So if you're having challenges navigating the website and finding what it is that you need, you can utilize the chat bot. And what will happen is it'll pop up on your screen when you get to our website, and you can prompt a question into that. It'll navigate the website for you and provide possible solutions to your questions. Lastly, I want to mention that we're in the process right now of developing a virtual agent solution. We recognize that it is very helpful and often very comforting to actually speak to a human when you're navigating a new process, and especially one that's as important as unemployment insurance. The fact of the matter is, though, there's an extremely high demand for services right now. As I said, there's 500,000 claimants that exist right now and more that are filing every day. So we are working hard to service folks that need our help. But the fact of the matter is we're going to need some assistance beyond just our human capabilities. So we're developing additional capacity for virtual agents that will help you to, in many instances, navigate your particular problem and get you the answer that you need such that you can progress through the system appropriately. Okay, next I want to talk a little bit about the most frequently asked questions that we've seen. So first, why are there two separate online systems for unemployment? How do I know which one to use? So as I mentioned earlier, we did just upload onto our website some video series that help to cover this. But broadly, it falls into two categories because there's regular unemployment insurance, which covers traditional W-2 employees, meaning you have what's called a traditional relationship with your employer, and you are the employee, and your wages, and you will get a W-2 statement for the work that you do. Those are called covered employees. Employers in the state pay premiums to cover those types of employees such that when there are periods where they are not employed and separated through no fault of their own, they can get partial wage replacements. And then the second system was developed specifically for the actions that Congress took in trying to cover individuals that don't fit into that category. And so the most efficient and effective way for us to, in Colorado, to serve those customers was actually to stand up a new system developed specifically for the specifications that Congress put forward to cover those individuals. So that's why there's two systems. One's for pandemic unemployment assistance and one for traditional unemployment assistance. Another frequent question we've had is, what if I have wages in another state? So this can be a little bit of a more specific scenario, but I'll cover a few broadly. And one is if you have all of your wages are from another state and you just recently moved to Colorado, then what's likely going to need to happen is you're actually going to need to file your unemployment request for benefits in that other state where your wages came from. It doesn't matter if you reside here now if all of your wages came from another state. In some instances, you're going to have a situation where you've earned partial wages in one state and partial wages in Colorado. What you're going to need to do there is look at both benefit systems and make a decision about which state you want to file in. And then the only thing I would add to that is if you then make a decision to file in the state of Colorado, what that's going to create is what's called a combined wage claim. And that presents a specific challenge for all states. Essentially what it requires is that the states work together to figure out the benefits for the claimant. In that situation, which many of you may be in, it is incumbent, we are reliant on the workload of that other state. So admittedly, that takes a little bit more time to process because we're doing the work on our side and we're also dependent upon the other state to process the other half of your claim as well in order to get to a final arrangement for the benefits and to get payment made. Next question, how long will it take to see my first benefit payment after I apply? So generally, I want to talk a little bit about the process. So what's going to happen is you're going to go in, you're going to file a claim. We're going to take a look at that claim to see if you're eligible for benefits. That's the first step. That process is taking a few business days, but that doesn't mean that that's immediately going to generate a payment. What's going to happen is once you're deemed eligible for benefits, you're going to get a certification window. And so first I'll talk about regular unemployment insurance benefits. In that certification window, you're going to go in and you're going to certify for a 2-week period of time. So that means, let's say that you file a claim on a Thursday, and you are deemed eligible shortly thereafter, and your claim begins on a Thursday. You're going to have to wait 2 Sundays before you go in and request payment, because what you're going to be doing is certifying that over the past 2 weeks, you haven't earned any income, that you are eligible for benefits and able to work and available for work, and furthermore that you haven't had a job offer that you've turned down. So that's why it will take a few weeks before you will get your first payment, because you're certifying on what happened the previous 2 weeks. If you're on pandemic unemployment assistance, it's slightly different. In that model, same at the beginning, you apply for benefits, you're deemed eligible for benefits, but that has a weekly certification process. So essentially, you're going to only have to wait for a 1 week before you go in and certify along the same parameters that I just discussed in order to get your benefits. So that essentially covers the second bullet there too. Once I have filed and deemed eligible, how do I get my benefit payments? And again, I can't stress this enough. It is incumbent upon you to take the steps necessary to get the benefits once you've been deemed eligible. We will provide you guidance in written communication by email, preferably, if you signed up for email communication, with regards to the steps you need to go in to certify on a weekly or biweekly basis. And that is how you will actually get your benefit payments. Last question that we're seeing, because the economy is starting to open up more, is my employer wants me to return to work, but I don't feel safe. Can I stay on unemployment? That really is a it depends situation. So what's going to happen there, I want to emphasize that if you are offered work, if you're furloughed, for example, and your employer says, okay, we want you to come back to work now, or if you get a job offer based upon applications you've been putting out, you must report those in your certification process. Now, if your employer, for example, calls you back to work and you're nervous about the situation, what it's going to do is you're going to report to us that you've got that job offer, and you're going to report whether you went back to job or not. And what that'll do is it'll if you did not, in fact, go back to the job, it's going to create an issue where we have to look at that situation. Meaning the Division of Unemployment Insurance will talk to you as the claimant, as well as your employer, to gather facts about the situation. So, for example, we would ask the employer, what are the circumstances? Is it the same job that he or she had before? And what accommodations have you made to provide appropriate social distancing and to generally conform with the guidelines set forth by the governor and local officials with regards to creating a safe work environment? If it can be determined that it really isn't a safe work environment, then you would still be eligible for those benefits. If, however, we make the determination, A, that it is the same job that you had previously, so for example, if you were an accountant and you went on unemployment insurance, that they're not asking you suddenly to answer telephones instead of being an accountant. And furthermore, if they can demonstrate that it is a safe work environment and they've taken necessary steps to provide an environment where you can be relatively and securely rest assured that you won't have undue exposure to COVID-19, then in that case we would suspend benefits for the claimant. Okay. Lastly, I want to talk about tips for filing a successful claim. As I said, when the claim goes through successfully, it really is a rather smooth and efficient process. 85% of claims are processed very timely, and these are just some tips in helping you to get to that place. First is check the accuracy of your information before you submit. Things like name, address, key dates changes will require speaking with an agent. So we want to avoid that as best as possible. So please be diligent in checking the accuracy of the information you submit before you hit send on the application process. Please provide an email address if prompted and select into electronic correspondence. The most efficient and effective way for us to communicate with you is via electronic correspondence and via your email address. So we would ask that when and if you are prompted to provide those, that you opt into those. Please have your tax documents ready to upload. What we're going to need there, whether you're a W-2 employee or whether you're a 1099 gig worker employee, is for you to have those tax documents ready. You're going to be prompted to answer some questions based upon your income, and in some instances you're going to be asked to upload forms. So please have those ready to go. It'll create a smoother process. Also, please have a Colorado identification ready. You're going to be prompted to you're going to be prompted on questions relative to your identification. It doesn't have to be a driver's license per se, but that is the preferred method if you have one. For PUA claims specifically, there is an Experian identity verification process built within the application. We ask you to please accept the Experian identity verification. I want to be clear that this is not a credit check. It is simply to verify that the person that's filing a claim is who they say they are. We take fraud and identity theft very seriously, and if you accept that process, it will allow for a smoother process. And if you fail to do that, if you fail the identity verification, or if you don't go through it at all, it may delay your claim. Reminder to please check your spam folders for any emails. So if you opt into electronic communication with us, typically it will route to your inbox. But of course, if you're not seeing communication, shortly after your claim has gone through successfully, please do check your spam folder and set the parameters so that it will not route to spam. Please respond to all emails from the division. Not all communication from the division will require a response, but if prompted, please read it carefully and please respond as quickly and efficiently as possible to any communications that require your response. And lastly, as I've talked about a number of times, please report all offers to return to work and any earnings during your regular weekly or biweekly certification. So if you have partial earnings during a week, it will impact your benefits. And that includes any full earnings you may have during any week that you're on benefits. So with that, we're going to segue to your questions. We're going to try to get to as many as we possibly can in this time that we have together. And again, helping me out with that is going to be Elizabeth and Jeff. So Elizabeth and Jeff, let's start with some online questions. I got a question here from Rebecca. Is the work search a requirement again? What does it mean to a furloughed employee that are job attached? Jeff, can you help out with that question?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So Rebecca, if the work search requirement is for those that are generally with unemployment insurance, you're required to actively seek work to resolve your unemployment situation. But if you're a furloughed employee and you're attached to your job, which means that your employer does expect you to return back to work in your same position, then what we're doing right now due to the pandemic is waiving that work search requirement. So if you have documentation or you have an agreement with your employer that can be verified that you are returning to work in the same capacity, you do not need to seek work at this time.
Thank you, Jeff. The only thing I would add to that is we did broadly, beyond just furloughed workers, we did broadly suspend work search requirements based upon the fact that we were in a shelter-at-home type situation within the state. Since we're moving out of the shelter-at-home and we're now in the safer-at-home and parts of the economy, again, are opening back up again, for situations where you're not a furloughed employee, we will be reinstituting the work search requirement. Next question comes from Colleen. She writes, how do I report refused contracts on a standard claim? I am a 1099 contractor. Elizabeth, can you help with that?
Yes, absolutely. So when you file your continued claim on your weekly or biweekly certification, depending on which type of claim you're on, which sounds like it's your standard claim, so it'd be every 2 weeks, there is a question in there that asks if you did refuse a job offer. And when you answer that question, it will prompt you to supply fact-finding to share more information about what exactly was the job that you refused, why did you refuse it, and then the division will take that information under consideration and look at what determination is needed for that job refusal. So essentially just provide as many details as you can to explain the situation, and we'll take all of those pieces into account and follow up if we need to get more information.
Great, thank you. Let's move to a live call. So I've got John on the line. I'm going to try and bring John on. And 1 second here. John, can you hear me?
Yes, hello, this is John.
Hi, John. What's your question today?
My question is, I'm a full-time W-2 employee, and I have been for the past 3 years, and I'm also a self-employed 1099 from multiple self-employment options, and all of my self-employment options have ceased due to COVID, but I'm concerned with the process of filing. As I initially applied, I initially went through the process and it showed my W-2 employment options, but I'm still working, and I don't want to go through unemployment fraud, but I want to know what's the appropriate process for me to file, even though I'm still a fully employed W-2 employee with multiple self-employment options.
Okay, Elizabeth, can you help out here?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, John. So the question that I would ask is, in your full-time employment now, are you working more than 32 hours in a given week?
Yes.
So unfortunately, when in this situation, any weeks that you work more than 32 hours, we do consider you to be full-time employed, and you would be denied benefits for that week. You can certainly file a claim so that you have one on file and request payment, but unfortunately the payments will be denied due to working more than 32 hours. If for some reason your full-time employment reduced to under 32 hours, you may be eligible for a partial payment. And so the challenge there is because you do work more than 32 hours, there is not a allowance in the law for us to pay benefits.
Even though all of my income that was supposed to help pay my rent from my self-employment options, I'm not eligible for that?
If you're working more than 32 hours a week, that is the case, yes.
Since I haven't, do you want to ask your question? No. Well, thank you. I'm quite disappointed because this is my livelihood, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do.
Well, we're sorry, John. This is a federally administered program, and we've got to follow the laws that are set forth for us on unemployment insurance. So it really is based upon what's deemed as full-time work. So we're sorry that that's the case, John, but that is accurate. Sorry we couldn't be sorry, but that is the reality of the situation. We wish you the best of luck, John. Okay, let's move back to another online question. So Sarah writes, how do I get payment? So Jeff, we talked about this briefly, but can you just reiterate how one gets payments?
Sure, absolutely. So Sarah, either way, the best place to go to start to request a benefit payment is through our website, coloradoui.gov. And if you click on returning payments, there's a link there if you scroll down, and it says returning claimants, returning existing claimants. It will take you down two different routes. So and I don't know your situation, but if you're a regular unemployment claimant, then you would go through the My UI claimant link, and it's right there on the website. Click on that, and you'll log into your account using the PIN and your username that you provided, and you'll be able to request payment there, or you could call into Cubline on a biweekly basis to request payment that way if you didn't have access. If you are a pandemic unemployment assistance claimant, then you would log into the PUA application. You can get to that link on that same page just from our regular coloradoui.gov website. Click on returning existing claimants, and on the right-hand side, it takes you down a path where you can click on the PUA online application, and then when you get to that application, if you're an existing claimant, you enter your social security number and the password that you set up when you filed your pandemic unemployment assistance claim, and scrolling down on your home page there will show you all available certification weeks. You can click those and go in chronological order from earliest to latest, depending on how many weeks are showing as available, and just request your payments that way. So it's the easiest way is just to go on our website, click into your account on either system, and follow the prompts to request payment.
Great, thank you, Jeff. Elizabeth, I've got a question that was typed in here. We talked about it briefly, but perhaps you can cover it again. Hillary writes, how do I qualify for COVID-19 extra $600 pay?
Yes, absolutely. So the extra $600 is eligible to any claimant who requests payment starting with the week of March 29th. And so if you are eligible for at least $1 of your regular unemployment, whether that be through the standard unemployment or the PUA application, either way, if you are eligible for $1 at least, you will get the extra $600. There's nothing that you need to do to apply for this. It is automatically added to your weekly payment. And all you need to do is just continue to request payment as Jeff just described in the prior question.
Okay, great. We've also got a question typed in here. Jeff, they're having a challenge with their PIN. We've added some functionality on the website with regards to PINs. Can you talk a little bit about that? Jeff, can you help out there?
Yep, sorry, Jeff, I was talking on mute. Yes, so if you're a regular unemployment insurance claimant, then as part of your process, we send you out a personal identification number that you can use to access to access the online account through MyUI Claimant, where you can request, you can do certain things like request payment, and there's some other functions there. If you haven't received your PIN or you need a new PIN, you can go to coloradoui.gov and click on the returning claimant link. Once you get there, we have on the left-hand side is kind of the path for regular unemployment claims. You go down that path, and when you scroll down, there is a link for request a PIN. So you can click on that link there. You'll provide the information that's requested in a form, and then we will send a new PIN out to you.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right, let's go to a phone call here. I've got Erica on the line. Erica, I'm going to bring you on, and
people can see the
let's
same
see what Erica.
Right. But I
Erica,
Erica,
are you with us?
I have to address that a
Second.
bit.
Erica, are you with us?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, Erica,
Can you hear me?
how can we help you today? Yes. How can we help you?
I was just trying to get some information on how to request payment for a week at the end of April where I was on furlough for a week, and I had trouble filing on your system the week that I was on furlough, so I had to file it the week after, and now it's not letting me go to the correct dates. It's only letting me go back to May 3rd.
Okay. All right, let's see. Elizabeth, can you help with this?
Yes, absolutely. So Erica, am I correct in assuming that you applied for regular unemployment, that's your W-2?
Yes.
Okay, so what we have on the website is a request a backdate form. So if you go to coloradoui.gov and click on returning claimant, scroll down to the bottom and you'll see a link that says request a backdate. And what you can do there is describe your scenario, and then a customer service representative will contact you to get that backdate taken care of for you.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Erica. Good luck. All right. Let's go with another online question here that's been typed in. So Jake says, how long does it take for your claim to get reapproved that now says job issue, job refusal? Is there anything I need to do to expedite the process? So Jeff, can you talk a little bit about when we've got a situation and there's been a job offer and job refusal, and our team is looking into that situation and give some idea of what's going to happen in that process?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So, Jake, if you did report a job refusal as part of your payment request process, what will happen is that it flags and sets an issue on your claim, which requires us to gather some information to make a decision on whether we reapprove. You indicated reapproved the claim, so you still keep your claim. We have to take a look at that and determine if the job refusal, you had good cause to refuse a job that was offered to you. Earlier, Jeff had spoken about a number of different factors that we look into, so we have to identify whether that was a bona fide job offer, and whether you had good cause to refuse that. So we look at things like the work environment, what type of job it was, what type of job you were looking for. So unfortunately, it does take some time because we have to gather some information. So I wouldn't be able to provide good information on exact timelines, but in order to expedite the process and to make it quicker for you, please make sure that you respond to any requests for additional information that may come. So keep an eye if you have an email that's associated with your account. We may email you additional questions. If not, we may, in certain cases, someone from the state may reach out and contact you to get additional information. If you happen to be on the Pandemic Unemployment Assistance Program, then that issue automatically generates a questionnaire that we would send out, and it would be located in your inbox. So the best thing you can do at this point is respond to any information requests that we put out there, and we'll get to the resolution of that issue as soon as possible. I want to stress as well, just to make sure that you continue to request your payments on a biweekly basis if you're regular UI, or a weekly basis if you're on pandemic unemployment assistance, so that we keep your claim going. So even if you have an issue, that does not mean that you need to stop requesting benefits or that you cannot continue requesting benefits while we're doing that initial investigation. And just be as detailed as possible regarding any job refusal that you may report to us. So like I said, we need good details on exactly what you were looking for. Provide information about the job itself. If it wasn't a job that you had asked for, provide every bit of detail necessary so that we can make a good decision.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff. All right, let's move to a phone call here. I've got Douglas on the line. I'm going to try and bring Douglas on here.
Hello.
Douglas, you with us?
Yeah, I'm with
Douglas,
you.
how can we help you?
Hey, I'm one of those people that you're referring to that didn't request the claim every 2 weeks to start with.
Okay.
And so now somebody told me that I had to, so I started the process of doing that. Every time I do it, I get a point where it says I try to request it, and then I get, based on our records, the information that you have given us, we cannot sign you up for unemployment here. That is after I get the sign that says no weeks to claim. I've tried this for a month and a half of sitting down and trying to do that, and I get that every time.
Okay. All right. So, Elizabeth, what advice can you give to Douglas with regards to his circumstances?
Yes. Hi, Douglas. Have you been able to reopen your claim yet? I'm wondering if you've taken that action yet.
I have attempted all those. I even attempted to try a new claim, which I was afraid of because of being claimed of unemployment fraud. But I've tried every avenue that I possibly can to get it to reopen.
Okay. So there is on our website, if you go to coloradoui.gov, there's
.gov, not the UI, right? Yeah, coloradoui.gov, and then click on returning claimants. There's a link that says reopen your claim. It's more in the second half of the page. That'll at least get your claim reopened so that we can get you going on payments moving forward. And then the other part that I would advise you to do is on that same page, there is also a link for a request a backdate. And what that'll do is it'll allow an agent to contact you and enter in your back weeks that you have not been able to file. So we'll get your claim reopened through for moving forward, and then you'll continue to request payment every 2 weeks from that reopen date. And then we'll need to take care of those back weeks for you. So that would be the request a backdate form. Okay, just because I'm a little older than most people here probably and not very good with computers. Can you go over that process just quickly one more time, because I'm looking at the page and I really don't see the first step in it. What was the first step again?
Okay. So are you on coloradoui.gov?
Yeah, the Colorado Department of Labor and Employment. That's what I'm looking at, unemployment.
Okay, so if you, on the right side of your screen, if you scroll down just a little bit, you'll see 5 buttons. One says new claimant, one says returning claimant, employers. Do you see that area? So click on returning claimant.
Okay.
And now scroll down a little bit towards the bottom.
Okay.
And you'll see a button that says reopen your claim.
Okay.
That's the button you're going to want to click on. And then just a little bit down there, you'll see another button that says request a backdate. Those are the two areas you're going to want to look at.
Okay. And so that will at least get somebody to be aware of what's going on. And
exactly.
And then we can go from there. The other thing that I don't see yet on that page you just described was the places for setting up a what was it, an appointment only thing? Will that be there on June 1st?
For the lobby, you mean?
Yes, to have a appointment only conference with an agent, I guess.
Jeff, can you speak to that? I'm not 100% sure about the time frame on that.
Sure, Douglas. So, yes, you're generally right. If the steps that were just talked about don't solve your problem, and you need further assistance, and you want to come in and talk to somebody, yes, on June 1st, we're going to open up scheduling, and the first available dates will be starting on June 8th. Okay, Douglas?
Yeah. Okay,
Good
thank
luck,
you very much.
And I think that's going to help. Bye-bye.
All right.
All right, so Jeff, we've got an online question that it's just a general one, but maybe you can broadly answer this for us. It says, how do we find out if we've been approved for payments?
All right, sure. It's a pretty broad one. So there's a number of different ways that that you can find out if you've been approved for payments. So the most obvious one is by actually going in and doing your payment requests. So if you filed a claim, whether it be in either system, if depending on the circumstances, if there aren't additional issues that we may need to investigate, there shouldn't be any barriers to receiving payments if you are unemployed through no fault of your own or unemployed due to the pandemic. So if there aren't any of those issues that we need to investigate, requesting payment every 2 weeks for a regular unemployment insurance claim or weekly through a pandemic unemployment assistance claim will generate a payment out to you. So in both systems, if there are issues that are under investigation, your online claimant account for regular UI does list anything that is under review or pending investigation. On the pandemic unemployment assistance, we have several different steps that we look into to look at eligibility and just to do some general housekeeping. So it may say that there are pending issues that are under review, but that may not necessarily mean that those issues hold payment. So in some cases, you may receive a letter or a notification electronically. If we look at an issue and determine that you're approved, we would let you know via correspondence of some type. Generally with the regular unemployment insurance, those decision letters are mailed. The pandemic unemployment assistance application does everything electronically, so your correspondences in your inbox would give you notification that you had been approved. But like I said, the fastest way, easiest way to do it without trying to read into the different notifications that come across would be just to request payment and look at the payment status. So if your payment status indicates that your payment is pending due to an issue, that lets you know that we're still working on something. Otherwise, it should show you as a payment status of paid or processed, which lets you know that payments are going to you.
Okay, great. Thanks, Jeff. Let's move to a live call here. I've got Sharon. I'm going to bring Sharon on.
Yes, hello.
Sharon, are you with us? Hi.
Yes, I'm here.
How can we help you today?
Okay, mine's a little bit more confusing for me. I'm a daycare provider and considered essential, but my hours have been cut. And then I also work part-time. So on that one, I was furloughed, then brought back, and furloughed and brought back again. So I'm wondering exactly, I don't know, I'm a little confused as to how I can apply for unemployment with that kind of a situation.
Sure. Elizabeth, can you try and help Sharon out here?
Yes, absolutely. So Sharon, unemployment is available for any individual whose employment has been affected through no fault of their own. This includes reduction of hours. So this would be a partial unemployment in that sense. So what I would encourage you to do is still go ahead and file a regular unemployment claim if you have W-2 covered wages, or look at filing a pandemic unemployment assistance claim if you are not W-2 and more fall in the 1099 category. And then just provide the details about your separation in the application, and just explain for both of the employers what the scenario has been. We understand that times are very uncertain right now and things are definitely in flux. And so on your continued claim filing, when you file every week or every 2 weeks, depending on which type of claim that you do, you can utilize that as a way to report what hours you're working, what rate of pay you're getting, and then that way we can utilize all of that information to determine what partial benefit amount you may be eligible for up to the full benefit amount. So there are lots of flexibilities within the law for people who have had reduction of hours and are still working. So I definitely encourage you to apply.
Okay, can I ask another question?
Sure, Sharon, go ahead.
Okay, if I'm concerned about the fraud. I don't want to get into trouble for applying. So if I applied incorrectly, is somebody going to contact me, or am I not going to receive? I mean, I'm just concerned that I filled out the paperwork, but I didn't know if there was a problem, if somebody would contact me.
So if there's any cause for concern that we need to investigate something on your claim, a staff person from the division will be in contact with you. Our processing, we have a lot of work on our plates. So just know that as long as you're receiving payment, everything's going smoothly. If there is a stop in payment, then somebody will be in contact with you to resolve that.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Good luck, Sharon. Thank you. All right, next I want to move to the poll questions here. And so there's a number of you that are asking about exhausted claims, which can fit into a number of categories. But I'm going to ask Jeff here to help just talk a little bit about exhausted claims. Jeff, can you jump in?
Sure. So what is exhausted is basically a status when you have filed for your claims under whichever program that you're entitled to, and when you file an unemployment insurance claim, generally we determine what your weekly benefit amount is going to be, and we determine what a maximum benefit amount would be. And the maximum benefit is made up of a number of weeks available at that weekly benefit amount. So once you've claimed all of the benefits that are left on the claim, then you reach a status which is then called exhausted. And that means that you've exhausted all available benefits for you. So generally, as part of the different programs that are out there, when you exhaust benefits, depending on which program you are, there may or may not be opportunities for additional benefits to be added to the claim, or in some scenarios, if you exhaust one type of benefits, you need to move on to a different type of program. So those are some of the pieces that we are continuing to work with currently, and hopefully should have some guidance out soon on the best course of action, what to do, since it can be kind of tricky to navigate.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. We've got another question here. Elizabeth writes, will updating my address in MyUI affect my payment? Can you all talk a little bit about, Elizabeth, maybe you could jump in on this one, just interacting with MyUI claimants and updating information in that portal.
Yes, absolutely. So any demographic updates will not affect payment. It's simply letting us know that your address has changed, and we'll make sure that we notate that correctly on all areas of the application. The only things that could affect payment relate to your weekly filing and the answers that you provide in terms of if you're not able or available for work, things like that. So essentially just continue to request payment every 2 weeks or every week, depending on your claim that you're on, and any demographic changes should not impact payment.
Great, thank you. Jeff, we got a question here that was typed in. Why would a status go from pending to not active? Can you broadly touch on that?
Sure. If you have and it's kind of hard to, I'll admit it's difficult to go through just depending on which program that you're in, but if something is saying pending and then it goes to non-active, I'm assuming that you may be talking about an issue that was identified on your claim. So if that's the case, if you had an issue that was showing in pending status and it's showing now as not active, that means that we may have removed that issue and that there's no longer, that issue is no longer active, no longer under investigation. If you're talking about a full claim status where a claim may be pending, and this could be under the regular UI claim, if you're looking at your online statuses, pending has gone to not active. It could also indicate that you haven't been requesting your payments. After a number of weeks, if you do not request payment, it could put your claim status into not active. So if you're on a regular claim, that's not giving you any opportunity to request payments. If your claim is not active, that usually means you need to reopen it. So if it's a regular UI claim, you can go in and do that through Colorado UI.gov on existing returning claimants. And on the returning claimants page, go down to reopen your claim, and that should allow you to get back in. Otherwise, if you had pending weeks that were out there and they disappear under pandemic unemployment assistance, that could be a scenario where you might need to request a back date to get those back weeks processed if they're not available. Generally, there are time limits involved for requesting payment, and if you don't request payment within a 2-week period, on either system, different things could happen. It could close your claim down on the regular UI system, or it could hide those weeks and make them unavailable for pay until we're able to contact you and open those back up. So generally, depending on the status, I know it's not a great answer because it could apply to several different things, and the question isn't very specific, but it usually I go by that guidance that if it was an issue status showing pending and then not active, that generally means we're done with something or we've voided an issue out. If it's regarded to your claim status itself, it could mean that you need to reopen your claim or request a backdate.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. So Elizabeth, I'm seeing a number of questions about restarting a claim. I think we've touched on it briefly, but can you just talk broadly about restarting a claim? Elizabeth, you there?
Sorry, I was on mute. So in just restarting a claim with the regular unemployment, you'll want to go to the website, www.coloradoui.gov. Down at the bottom, click on Returning Claimant. And then down, when you go to that next page, there's a button there to reopen your claim. And if you do need to request back weeks, there's another button further down to submit a request over to the division to get any back weeks that you are eligible for. On the pandemic unemployment assistance side, you'll just need to log back into your account to activate it, and back weeks should be available. And if they're not, then go ahead and send that over to us via that backdate form, excuse me.
Okay, great. Thank you. Jeff, I failed to cover in my overview a situation where someone is both a 1099 and a W-2 worker. So that can get a little bit tricky and complicated for folks. Can you go into the circumstances if somebody works both 1099 and W-2 employment?
Sure, be happy to. And I know that this is kind of a hot topic. So if you fall into that category where you may have some W-2 work, but you also have 1099 work, it puts you in kind of a peculiar position where we have to identify which path you need to go down. So generally, there is a there is a path that you would look at when you're deciding which program you qualify for. And it's the first step would be to look at regular unemployment insurance. And so that's the unemployment insurance program that is funded by employers in covered employment. And we call covered employment W-2 employment. So if you have a W-2, you work for an employer, there's a good chance that you would qualify for regular unemployment insurance, even if you have 1099 work or self-employed work or gig work that you do as well. And so the determining factor is really how much money you made in W-2 employment, because that sets up whether or not you qualify for regular UI. So in Colorado, if you've earned a minimum of $2,500 in what we call the base period, which is the first 4 out of the last 5 completed calendar quarters. So right now that is all of 2019. If you've earned $2,500 or more in W-2 employment in 2019, regardless of if it's a minimal amount or if that's part-time work that you may have done or you only worked for a small period of time, by federal law, you must go into the regular UI path first and establish a regular unemployment insurance claim. So that applies, that's kind of the general rule of thumb there if you're doing both 1099 work and W-2. So I know a lot of folks, their main job was 1099 work, but they did have, side work that was done for a W-2 employer. And that is the determining factor on whether or not you go down the regular unemployment insurance route or whether you go straight into pandemic unemployment assistance. And generally with our systems, if you are confused on that, we have some checks and balances in place with our online systems that will help you to determine which program that you should go under. So if you're a new claimant on coloradoui.gov, there's kind of an overview of which path you should go. You can look at the different scenarios that are there. But generally, if you are a 1099 worker primarily, but you do have W-2 wages, that may qualify you for regular unemployment if it was at least $2,500 in 2019 or possibly even the first 3 months of 2020, because those wages could qualify you for regular UI as well. Then the pandemic unemployment assistance application will direct you to file a regular unemployment insurance claim. Anything else I can clarify on that, Jeff?
Jeff, it's Rebecca. I think we may have lost Jeff for a second, so we'll see if he can rejoin us to help close us out. If not, I can go ahead and wrap us up. Wanted to thank everyone for joining us today for our third town hall. Just gauging the responses to our poll, the top 2 questions, people are interested in backdating a claim, which we addressed throughout the call, but just as a reminder, we have a new feature we just added. We added that yesterday, as a matter of fact, so please take a second to explore some new functions to the website, including returning claimants from coloradoui.gov. Select returning claimant, scroll down to the bottom of the page on the left-hand side. You can choose request backdates, and we will schedule a call back for you. This will also be recorded and available in English and Spanish at coloradoui.gov. And with that, I will kick it back to Jeff for any closing remarks.
Thank you very much, Rebecca. We just want to say thank you. We're working hard to support all Coloradans who need our assistance. We thank you for being with us today. We hope this has been helpful, and we wish you the best. Stay healthy, be well.